One of the most sobering moments in the life of Moses is found in Numbers chapter 20. Many people read it and think that seems incredibly severe. Moses struck a rock, and because of that, he couldn't enter the promised land. But the issue wasn't merely that Moses struck a rock. God saw more than the outward action. He saw what was happening in Moses' heart and what Moses communicated about God to the people. God had instructed Moses, "Speak to the rock before their eyes." Instead, Moses turned to the people and said, "Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock?" And then he struck it twice. Notice something. Moses says, "Must we?" For a moment, the focus shifted from God to Moses and Aaron. The unbelief wasn't that Moses doubted that water would come out. He clearly expected a miracle. The unbelief was failing to trust God enough to obey God exactly. God said, "Speak." Moses struck, and God called it unbelief. Why? Because faith and obedience are inseparable. Partial obedience is still disobedience. Later, God explained what the real issue was. "You did not sanctify me before the children of Israel." In other words, Moses did not represent God's holiness correctly before the people. The tragedy of Meribah is not merely that Moses struck a rock. It's that a moment of anger obscured the character of God before the people. The people saw an angry Moses. God intended them to see a holy, patient, gracious God. And perhaps that's why the story is so important, because many of us think our actions only affect us. But when we represent God, people learn something about Him through us. Our words matter, our reactions matter, our obedience matters. Yet, even in Moses' failure, we see God's grace. God did not abandon him. God did not cast him away. Moses remained God's servant. And centuries later, Moses appeared with Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. What humbles me most about this story is that God is both extraordinarily holy and extraordinarily merciful. Moses reminds us that closeness to God is not a license to treat his commands lightly, and that God cares deeply not only about what we do, but how we represent him before others. Okay, so what I said, bye.